What were the other choices for the work week?
Just kind of anything you could find that was in the greater Richmond area.
Oh,
I mean, you really don't know anything.
gotcha. So it wasn't necessarily like we want you to go find something. Very good. Sweet. Yeah, my school didn't definitely like that. He had no clue. So it's like once you graduate high school, they're just kind of like, you're into the world. And you're like, okay. Okay, well, let's get started. We've got a bunch of you guys online and one person here in the office. So it's just gonna be Cole and I hanging out. And the rest of you are gonna miss out on all the in-person fun that we do because there's puppies in here. And you guys are missing out because you didn't come in. Totally kidding. There's no puppies here. So anyway, for those of you who don't know Cole, he is kind of working with our team this week. He's actually a junior at Trinity, right? Trinity. And they're doing basically a junior work week. He's a junior in high school there, and he's going to be checking out real estate, everything that we do, and kind of just learn about real estate. So if anyone does end up getting into the office, please talk to Cole. Seems great. All right, so let's get started. For those of you online who don't know me, my name is Seth Schemahorn. I'm a real estate agent. I'm an investor in real estate. I also co-founded Impact Leverage, which is a TC company. I know several of you, even online, I think we support your business and helping you with your listings, your contract to close, and really just leveraging your business so you can then go do more business and stay in your sales side of things. And then I'm also a dog-loving mountain biker and golfer. I have a German wire hair pointer. Her name's Greta. She's 8.5 now. She's the greatest dog in the world. You won't be able to convince me otherwise. She's super sweet, adorable. And yeah, I like to play golf. So, oh, well, 1 second. I got to figure out how to move this. All right, so who am I and why are you listening to me today? So this is the picture of my team. We are the Pace of Richmond. I'm also the director of sales for our team. And you'll see some numbers here. So in 2024, we closed 129 units as a team. We did almost $58.5 million in volume, which accounted for about $1.6 million in GCI for 2024. And the thing that I'm actually most proud about, because you probably have seen some stats that talk about real estate and how many agents are out there and how many deals those agents did per year. And it was something like 71% of all real estate agents last year sold 0 homes. And the majority of real estate agents on average sell somewhere between 4 and 6 homes. And on our team, we have an average units per agent of 22. So that's something I'm super proud of. I think it talks about like our systems, our trainings, our learnings. Everyone on our team is growth minded and driven and focused on just bettering themselves and doing better. So super proud of our team and just wanted to make sure you guys knew how to consider the source and why am I up here talking today. All right, so here's our goals for the day. Goal number 1, we want to make sure you have a good understanding of the MLS search system, creating contacts in the MLS, and how to do the auto emails. That is one of my favorite features. When I first got into real estate, I had a mentor talk to me about auto emails, and he was like, if you can figure out how to master this and just getting people set up on these, you're going to increase your business substantially. And it definitely worked. I also want to talk about market stats, where you can find them. We're going to talk about interpreting them a little bit and how to best use them with your clients. I'm talking about sending newsletters and information because it's super important for you to become the economist of choice when it comes to real estate in your database. Any time they think real estate, we want them thinking about you, and that's one of the ways you can do that. We're also going to talk about doing a CMA, which is a comparative market analysis for those of you that are new. I've been actually changing that with our team a little bit and calling it a PAIR report, so PEAR, and it's a professional equity assessment report because everyone does a CMA. Every single real estate agent, they do a CMA and they tell their clients they're going to do a CMA. And really what that is for our sellers, they want to know how much equity they have in their house. So we're talking about a professional equity assessment report, a PAIR report. We're going to go over Realist, so you can find tax information, and then the basics of showing time and creating templates in Transaction Desk. I have been told from teaching this class several times now that the templates in Transaction Desk are the things that a lot of you guys love and want. So I want to make sure we get to that. So depending on timing and where we're at, we might move through some of this stuff really fast. We might skip out on some of it because I do want to make sure we get to those transactions. It'll help you in your business and it'll make you move a lot faster. So step number one, we need to get into the MLS and we are going to build an MLS search. For those of you online as well, if you have questions, please jump in, ask the questions. The way I teach is definitely kind of in the moment. I want to fix mistakes. Do know that this is getting recorded. It'll be put on YouTube, so you will be able to go back and visit kind of those most important parts. But please ask questions ahead of time. We're happy to answer them, but be on your laptop for this. iPads are definitely harder to use. Phones, almost impossible to do for setting up an MLS search. So try to be on your laptops. And I would recommend for those online, unless you have a double screen where you can be watching this on one screen and working on the other, it's going to be harder for you to follow along here. But let's get into the MLS because we're going to build this MLS search of 2 to 4 bedrooms, 1.5 baths or more. We want it to be in Lakeside, Bellevue, or Rosedale. And these clients don't want to be super close to highways, and they only want resale homes. So let's go build that real quick. Let's get into the MLS, which are pulled up here. Alrighty. All right, so when we go into search, up here in this top bar, just hover over the search. Residential full is where I want you to go, or you can just click on residential full right here. It's interesting how they have things in multiple places that you can go to, but you save yourself one extra little millisecond there. All right, so we said 2. So this is just to explain for those that are new to MLS, this is basically all of the filtering that you can do for a MLS search. So over here you have status of a home. So if you've got a house that you're trying to look up because you're talking with a potential seller and they say, hey, the house down the street from me just went under contract. What was that priced for? Well, you can go click pending and go search that home. That way, you can also just search the address directly right here in the middle. And then you also have a map search which we will do that here in a minute, where you're going to be able to search by a certain area. And then you've got types of homes, style of homes, price, bedrooms, bathrooms, kind of, the criteria of the home over here. You got schools, siding, parking, garages right in the middle, who the agents were. So if you're trying to look up a specific agent and find their information, you can do that. And then down here in this additional fields, if you're new to the MLS, yours probably isn't going to show all of this stuff down here that I have. That is going to be in this add or remove field. And during the search process, we're also going to go through that. So I'll show you that piece. So let's build out this specific alert. We said we wanted 2 to 4 bedrooms. So over here on the right side, we're going to put 2-4. Basically, that means any house that has 2 to 4 bedrooms. If your client said we could just do 2 or more, it doesn't matter how many bedrooms, that would be 2+. And then if you've got a client who says, we don't want anything more than 4 bedrooms, we don't need to heat and cool that extra size of house or that extra bedroom, we just want 4 bedrooms or less, you could do 4 minus, and then that's going to show you any home that has 4 or less bedrooms. So for this, we know we're okay with 2 to 4 bedrooms. And I think we said 1.5 baths or more. This is the thing that everyone who's new to the MLS tricks them up, because online, when you see 1.5, you think 1.5. So if you put 1.5 plus, you'll see over here, well, we still have too many searches for it to fully show, but what you're actually searching for there when you put 1.5 is a house that has 1 full bath and 5 half bathrooms. So the way the MLS works is you actually have to put 1.1 plus. So that is 1 full bath and 1 half bathroom or more total. So this is going to show you if you have 2 full baths and no half baths, or 2 full baths and 1 half bath. It's just anything that is literally over 1.5 baths. If you wanted somebody to be a bit more specific, you could actually fill out the bathrooms down here and leave that blank. So for example, we could do at least 1 plus full bath and 1 plus half bath, and then it will narrow things down. But for us in our search, we're going to do 1.1 plus here in total baths. And then what did we say? Lakeside, Bellevue, and Rosedale areas. By the way, you want active homes. You could also select coming soon if you wanted to see those, but we just want active homes. Single family residence. So select that, because if you don't select anything over here, it's going to be showing you single family, condos, cooperatives, or townhomes. So right now we know we just want single family residences. Morning. And we're going to go to our map. So up here at this top corner, click on the map, and you'll see we've already got, some things showing up. And I know not everyone uses satellite view. I'm one of those weirdos that does. So let me change it back for everyone who's not used to that. And we said we wanted Lakeside, Bellevue, and Rosedale. That is this area here, just north of Bryant Park and where the 64 and 95 interchange happens. Bellevue is this little section right in here. And then Rosedale is right down in here. So that's what we're looking for. So in a map, you can search a few different ways to narrow this down. Right here in this toolbar, you've got some different options. So we're not going to go super deep into it, but option number 1, you have a radius tool. When you click on that, it highlights it, and then you go out onto the map, and let's say somebody says, I work, because the screen's already on here, I work at Bryant Park, and I'm okay being within a 1 mile radius of Bryant Park. Well, I can click and hold and then drag out, and you see how it kind of shows the mileage there. And if I just keep pulling it out, I can get to 1 mile and then stop. And now I have a 1 mile radius built around Bryant Park, and it's going to filter out any homes that are available. So that's how you can do a radius search, which is this first one. You also have a rectangle search. So if you click that, it functions the same way. You click and drag, hold, and then drag, and you create where you want that rectangle to be. And then the one that we want to use, though, because this person was more specific on Lakeside, Bellevue, and Rosedale areas, is the polygon tool. And this is the one that I pretty much exclusively use. Like, I rarely use the other ones unless I'm building searches for an investor who's just like, hey, this part of town, I want to know some information, that kind of thing. But for the most part, I'm just using this polygon tool because it allows you to get more specific. So when you click on that, make sure it's highlighted in yellow. We can then, it's not going to function the same way. So when you click, you're not going to hold. Every time you have this little cursor, this crosshairs, and you click, it sets a point. So I click once and it sets a point, and then now I can pull and I can click again, and then I can click again, and it starts just creating a border or an outline of whatever I want to set. And so every time you click, you're setting a new spot. And so I'm just literally going around and moving my mouse and clicking in all these different locations until I get all the way back around to my original circle. And then the moment I did that and I clicked on that original waypoint, it finished the look of it. So this is roughly my Lakeside, Bellevue, Rosedale area. This is technically not Bellevue, it's more Chamberlain, but we're just including it in this for the training purposes. All right, so now that we have this built out, we know we don't want to be super close to highways. So just as we did, oh, thank you for starting that. So just as we did the polygon tool for finding this location, if you select it again, and then I can go along all of the highways, and I basically just want to draw all these different little waypoints that are close to the highways within this search. So if you look close, I'm literally just following along the highways. And then get back to my original one. And then what I can do is, as you hover over that little red dot, it'll give you these options. You can delete the shape, you can exclude the shape, or include construction only or intersection only. I want to hit exclude this shape. And so now that's red. And so what that's doing is it's getting rid of a specific area within that search. So if a house were to pop up that's in that area, it keeps them away from the highways. You probably want to get a little more specific with this because I drew it pretty close to the highway. Ask your client, hey, when you say you don't want to be close to a highway, what exactly does that mean to you? How far away from the highway do you need to be? And then build your search based off of that. I think another way that you could also use this tool is like, I had a guy one time, he wanted to be in a specific neighborhood, but he had an ex that lived in a part of that neighborhood. And he's like, so I can't be on that side of the neighborhood. So we needed to exclude that side of the neighborhood because he just didn't want to be that close. It's kind of funny. So when we built the search and we were sitting down and doing this, he was like, from this road over to the west, I don't want to be in there. So one way of using that exclusion tool as well. And then what was our last thing we said? And we only want resale homes. So on that one, go back to this criteria tab that you see here at the top. And that is a search function that is not in this main search down here. So what you have to do is go down to the additional fields and you click add or remove. This is going to allow you to pull up a big list of a bunch of different items. Turn off. Is that easier to see with that? Okay, awesome. That pulls up a big list over here on the left of items that you can actually search by. And there's tons and tons of available fields in here. So when I search, I can type resale only, and you'll see there's an option for either new or resale homes. The way you add this, click on it, and then you would hit this add button. And for me, it's going to pop up with this thing that says it was not added. And that's because I already have it moved over in that field. If you didn't already have that there and you click that add button, it's going to add it here. Yours might not have anything over here if you haven't done this feature yet to move things over. I just have a bunch of stuff that I end up searching by often that I keep over in this area. So the new and resale was already there. So now when I go back and I go into my additional fields, I can find that new or resale search filter, and I can click resale. And now I'm only searching for resale homes in that area we talked about that are 2 to 4 bedrooms or 1.5 bathrooms or more. And now we have our results, and we've got 4 homes that we're looking at. And then I send those to my client. Any questions on the search function so far? Anyone online? Nope. All right. So our next step that we wanted to do was creating a contact and building out that auto email. So we're going to use this exact same search that we already built. So let's say you're sitting down with the client and you want to be sending them this information regularly. So down here in down here in this little search tool here, click over onto save, and then you'll see you've got a few options. There's new saved search. These are, like, personally for me, I've got a few neighborhoods, I've got a few search parameters that are typically my buy box for a house. It's so many bedrooms, it's so many square feet, so forth. So if I'm flipping a home, I have a certain buy box and I can go build that search. And then when I hit new saved search, it'll save that criteria. So now I don't have to go build out all the individual pieces every single time. So if I'm just doing, criteria by bedrooms, bathrooms, only resale homes, and I'm not doing a map search, I can save that criteria pretty easy and then go adjust it. So that way I'm not having to build out all the little individual pieces. There's also a new speed bar shortcut. So that will literally add this search into your speed bar from your home page. So you can just click on it super fast to get to that search. But what we're trying to do is we're sitting down with the client right now, and we want that client to get emails every day when new listings show up. So that's new auto email here. So when you click on that, it's going to bring you up to this templated email. And you can change this and adjust everything. But if you already have them as a contact, you can just go in here and find them and search for more contacts. So these are just all the people that I've got built out right now for the MLS. If you don't have them in there yet because they're a new client, you would hit create new contact and it'll bring up this information. Let's say you're meeting with a husband and wife. And so you need to be able to add multiple people, but in here, it only allows one name and one email for this contact. So the way that I build that out is somebody give me first names of husband and wife, or should we just call them husband and wife? Dan and Amber. All right, first name Dan and Amber. Last name
Jones.
Jones. Dan and Amber Jones, a solid name. By the way, you can put title if you want. So if you have president or ambassador, whatever, you can also put that information in there, Mr., Mrs., so all that kind of stuff. And then you also have category that you can save them as. I never really use the category because my expectation is once you're a client of mine, you are a client for life. You are going to be a buyer or seller no matter what's going on. Some people filter this based on buyer or seller. So if they're working with this person as a buyer or as a seller, they know which search is more accurate to what that person's needs are. We have our CRM that we use. You should also be using Command and CRM that's included at KW. So I never really use that feature. And then email addresses, it tells you right there, if you need multiple email addresses, you can enter one or more and separate them by a comma. So you would literally just put Dan at email.com and then Amber at email.com. So you would type out their emails and you could add as many as you want. So if you've got some young kids that are searching and the parents are going to be heavily involved in the search, the question I always ask in my buyer consultations is there any other decision makers that are involved in this purchase that I need to be aware of? And a lot of times it's like the parents are. And especially if they tell you, oh, our parents are lending us the money to purchase the home, you better include those parents in every single decision. They need to be seeing the houses, they need to be doing all the stuff, because the last thing you want is to put somebody under contract and then you get a week into it and the parents finally see the house and go, you shouldn't have bought this house. We're not giving you our money to go toward this. You have a real issue there if that happens. So you should be including the parents. So if you need to do that, you can easily do that right here and just add their emails into it. You can change the salutation of these emails, because every single day, these people are going to be getting emails from you to say, hey, here's a new listing that you might be interested in, or at least if a new listing shows up, they will be getting an email from you. And I like to change this based on how I talk to people. I never would say, dear Dan and Amber, or dear Dan. Like, it just, I never use that phrase. I'm always a hi or hey or what's up. So you can also, and so you can choose, do you want to just say hi Dan and Amber, hello Dan and Amber, dear Dan and Amber Jones, or you can do an custom one. And then you can literally type that out. Wait, what was the Super Bowl? Was so you can literally customize it to say what you want. I would recommend being a little more professional than what's up. But if you wanted to, you can do that. Add their phone number, add their cell phone number. And this is the cool new feature of One Home that we didn't used to have, is people can now get them to their phone a little bit easier. It'll send them a link. Used to was just email. So make sure you put their cell phone numbers in here, have this send text opt-in box checked, and then you're going to hit save. And when you hit save, that'll create this contact in your MLS database. I'm not going to hit save because I don't want to create this contact right now. But normally you would hit save and it would show up here. You can add CCs. So again, if there are parents and you want to add them here, you can do that. You can BCC yourself a copy this on all the emails. So if you have somebody who's like relocating, they're under a super time crunch, and you want to make sure you keep them engaged and searching and active, you can BCC yourself a copy of all these emails. And then you can also send a link via SMS text message, and then your subject line. So this is the actual email messaging part of this. The way I build these out is because sometimes, like, if I have an investor, I might have 10 of these searches going at one time for one client. So when they get an email, I want them to understand what that search is. So in the subject line, I try to get as specific as possible. So I will put home search, and this is Lakeside, Bellevue, Rosedale, 2 to 4 beds, 1.1 plus baths, resale. And that will be my subject line that I build out, because I want them to know that when they get this search, it's automatically this search that they're looking at. So if I have an investor who I'm sending emails to all the time and he's getting 10 of these every single day, I want him to be able to look at it and get in the right mindset of, oh, I'm looking at Manchester condos, or, oh, I'm looking at Forest Hill 2-bedroom homes, or whatever their interest is. So that way they can easily understand what they're looking at. You can change your welcome email however you want. This automatic one that comes in here is basically just created a new saved search for you. I'll send you new and updated properties. You can heart things, you can dislike them, you can take notes. And once we'll see this here in a minute, but when somebody like hearts something or makes a note on it, you get an alert and you can see that on your side. So you can actually communicate back and forth with your client about the house. And then you will be notified when properties that match your search criteria are updated and properties already in the search are modified. Your signature, you can go update your signature. If yours doesn't automatically pop up like this, hit the edit your signature and then add all that information in there. And then there's also this reoccurring email. So every time they get a new email with about the search, this is what they get. And I adjust this to basically just say, more homes that match your criteria just showed up. Take a look and let me know what you think. Simple as that, because this is just the reoccurring one that every single day if a new listing shows up, this is what they get. Down here is the criteria, so you can verify that the information you wanted on the search is correct. So we want active listings, single family. This is our match search, latitude, longitude, all that kind of stuff. How many bedrooms, baths, resale. So you can check that against if you did a buyer consultation with them and you got their criteria. I'm now verifying that information and their criteria versus this information right here. And then this settings feature, concierge mode, not something I use all the time. I actually just learned about it a couple of years ago teaching this class. Never used it before, but you can hit enable concierge mode. And basically what that's going to do is, I don't want this to sound terrible, but I do use this sometimes for older clients who I don't want to have to be getting tons of emails, or they don't, they're not super tech savvy and so forth. I want to go look at the house and verify it actually has their needs, because it's sometimes hard to search by some of their needs. And that might be, we want 0 entry, we want 0 steps. Well, a 1-level brick rancher can still have steps. So I will sometimes put on concierge mode so I can quickly look at the house and choose whether or not it needs to continue sending on to them. So it's basically uses me as a buffer and a filter between me and the client. You can also use this if you've got super busy clients, or sometimes I feel like my high net worth clients, they don't want to just get a bunch of emails. They want me going in, verifying the property actually matches and so forth. And I know some agents that also use this tool because it prevents them from getting bombarded with questions from their client, or their client sending them a house and going, we love this, we want to see it. And then you go look at it and you're like, okay, it doesn't actually match all of your criteria that we talked about. Why are we going and seeing this property? It allows you to also protect your time, so forth with clients. Show this client in reverse prospecting results. I'm not sure why somebody wouldn't check that. What reverse prospecting is a listing agent can now get a notification on their property that your client received it in their search, or even hearted it, favorited it. They don't get your client's information other than the MLS ID code for that client. And then they can reach out to you and say, hey, your buyer favorited my property. Would you like to set up a showing? I don't know why you wouldn't want that. That's literally other agents like helping you do your job for your client and help you recognize, hey, you have a client who might be interested in my property. So I usually always use that. And then enable as favorite search in the home tab. We can look at that in a minute, but basically back here in your Matrix home tab, there's a favorite search widget, and you can have that in there. And then you would hit save, go to approvals, and now you've set up that home search. Any questions on setting up that auto search? Anyone? Are we all good?
Nope, I thought this was great. Thank you.
All right, perfect. Let's go back here. Creating contacts, auto emails. So what are the, benefits? Let me show you this first. So when you come here to the My Matrix and you hover over this auto email button here, that is where you're going to find all your saved searches that you currently have set up. I try to go in here and clean this up every so often, just so you don't have so much to filter through. Like you see, I've got 4 of them here that are, old. And some of that gives me the ability to like reach out to these people and say, hey, I saw your home search is disabled. That means you haven't looked at it in like 90 days. What's going on? Like, are you no longer interested? Have things changed? What's happening? But it gives me reasons to reach out to them. And so when I first got into real estate, like my first mentor basically said, everyone loves to talk about real estate and everyone looks at real estate. Like there are memes of people talking about how, like I remember during COVID, there was one that was really funny that was like, I just got my $1,200 COVID check and here I am looking at $1 million properties on Zillow. It's like Zillow is almost used as like a form of social media with people sometimes. And everyone loves to look at homes. So when I started in real estate, I went to every networking event. I went to people's house parties. There's sometimes like I knew one person there and I'd be showing it to someone's house party, but like, who are you? And I'm just like, I'm wacky real estate guy. But I didn't know anyone in Richmond. So I had to go meet people and I had to go into places that were really uncomfortable. I did not enjoy going to all of those places. But when I met people, of course, conversation about work showed up and it was like, oh, I'm in real estate, so forth. And my line was always, well, hey, ideally in the future, if you were to ever move, where would you want to move? Like, where would you love to live? And that was always my party conversation piece. And it was always a different conversation because normally at parties, what's everyone do? Hey, how are you? What do you do for a living? Blah, blah, and it gets really boring. So I tried to ask better questions when I got with people. And then that gave me the in that was like, oh, well, if you love that neighborhood, like, why don't I set you up on a search? So that way you can keep up to date on what's going on in that neighborhood. You can just stay educated. You can see what's available from time to time. You can stay up to date on current pricing, and you'll just be able to see what's available. Who says no to that? Like very rarely would somebody actually say no to that. So I get their information, I add them to my database. So I'm gathering all of that. And then the next day when I'd wake up, I would open up the MLS and I would just literally go through these people. I had notes on my phone. So after I had every conversation, I just made a quick little voice note about this person and it would just say their name. So I'd be like, Dan Jones, Stratford Hills, at least 4 bedrooms, up to $600,000, whatever it was. And then the next morning I would go back and I would build all of these searches and people would start getting these emails from me. And then next thing you know, they're contacting me. They're asking questions about these houses. I'm getting them interested in homes. And then I'm putting them in touch with lenders. And next thing you know, I'm selling houses, we're doing business. But in this tool right here, this is your recent one home visitors log. You can see I already had 3 people this morning who were in their home search checking out homes. So as a real estate agent, what do you think I'm going to do later this afternoon? I'm going to follow up with every single one of those people. And I can see what they looked at. So like Levi here, I can click on his search and I can literally go find the sent emails. He got 1 new email and I can look at this and see what the house is. And I can go check it out compared to what he told me his criteria was. And then I can reach out to him and go, hey, I saw you were checking out a house this morning on the search. What questions do you have about it? How can I help you with it? Do you want to set up a showing? But it gives me my automatic lead generation. And I had how many people yesterday that were on this as well? So, I mean, I've got 10 people here that I can go follow up with to generate some activity around going and seeing homes and checking things out. So that's why I think that auto email search is so important, especially for new agents. This is the thing that is going to start getting in front of people. It's a part of like your touch plan, and it keeps your name in front of people. So when they think real estate, they think you. The other way that I use this as well is that exact question of, hey, ideally, if you wanted to live somewhere, like somebody already owns a home. It's like, well, they might dream of living in a different neighborhood. So it's that, hey, what's the dream house that you're interested in? And maybe they say, we'd love to live on a golf course. Awesome. So what do? I go set up a search specifically for on golf courses, and they start getting emails now of this. And who knows, they might get one and go, you know what, that is the dream house, we want it. I don't know how many of you know Gene Rivers. I know probably a lot of you do. He is incredible real estate agent. He's awesome. And I learned this from him, and he had just sold somebody this like nice custom home that they built in this one neighborhood. And he asked them this question. He said, well, is this your dream house? He goes, no, our dream house would be if we could live on this golf course. We'd love to live on this golf course. And then a home came up for sale. And they had only lived in their new home for something like, I want to say it was like 8 months or something like that. And he sent them this home and said, hey, that dream home we talked about, it just came up for sale. And I think it's within your budget. And those people ended up buying that home and selling the home that they had just bought a few months ago because it was their dream. So yes, real estate's about money, but it's also about emotions, and it's about home. It's about helping people achieve like that dream home that they want to build memories with their family in. So don't forget that and help people go do it. And I think this automatic email listing alert is one of the best tools to be able to help you do that with people. And it'll just automatically create activity. If you're a new real estate agent and you don't know what you're doing, that's what you should be doing. You should be going and talking to people, figuring out ideally where they want to live, setting up these searches, and then following up with them. And if you do that, I promise you will sell houses.
I have a question.
Yes.
So in that box where you said you can see people have opened or looked at homes, is that just because they clicked on the link or the listing? Like, can you see how much time they spent there?
So for those online, the question was in this box, we can see that people were active in their portal. And we see like how much time they've spent there, and so forth. I don't think you can see how much time you spent, but you can see what they were emailed. So like if I look at like Paul and Yvonne Van, I can go to their search here. And this is their search. And I can see their results. I can see, what they were sent, and then the sent email down here. I can see that this morning, they actually got 3 emails that were sent to them. And they looked at all 3 of them. And I can see what house it was that they were sent. So they were sent Twig Lane. They didn't heart it. They didn't add any kind of note or anything like that. And then they were also sent Manor Park Drive, and they didn't heart it or add any kind of note or anything. On this piece here, if they did heart something, like favorite it or add a note, it would show a little icon right here on the side. It would have like a little heart with a number 1. I can click on that heart and it will take me to that property that they favorited. So now that's a really easy follow-up, right? Now it goes, hey, I saw you favorited this property through the search. When are we setting up a showing? Like, I'll go check it out, make sure it's not in a floodplain. I'll do all my normal, stuff that I do. Hey, it looks like it matches your criteria. House looks great. Let's go see it. Let's schedule a showing. So yeah, you can see on the back end their activity to a point, at least enough that you follow up and say, hey, what are we doing here? Any other questions? All right, we're moving on. So that was MLS searches, creating a contact and doing auto emails. Sometimes people will, like when you have them set up on these, as soon as they get under contract, sometimes they'll unsubscribe from your emails. If they do that, and then let's say that house falls out of contract, you have to get them, not unsubscribed to your emails, because otherwise the MLS won't send it to them. I don't remember what the email is. I think it's something like opt-in@cbrmls.com, something like that or whatever. Just tell your client to email that email and it will automatically put them back in and subscribe them so then they can get your listing alerts again. Just a quick tip. All right, let's talk about market stats, finding them, interpreting them, and how to use them. So when you log in to the Clarity dashboard from CBR MLS, you have a bunch of tools that are included with your MLS membership. You have transaction desk, showing time, Century Lock, Realist, and then you have all these additional tools down here. And my favorite one is this fast stats right here. So about the middle of every single month, the numbers from the previous month show up. So I think it was like around March 13th of this month, we had February show up. So I know as a team, we go through these numbers the moment that happens as a team, because we want to be the economist of choice for our clients, be able to explain what's happening in our current local market. So I would recommend every single month, go look at these stats. So when you click on fast stats, it'll bring you to this little map. And then every single one of these little counties, you can click on and it will bring up a report for that area. This is the entire MLS. When I click on that, it brings up a PDF. Zoom in so we can all see it a little bit better. So this is local market update for February 2025 in the entire MLS, and the single family and then condo and townhomes are below. So what I do is you could make a quick video. You could do a quick newsletter with like a screenshot of this and add it into your newsletter email, and then write up a little blurb about, hey, this is what's happening, you know, February 2025 market stat numbers for Richmond and their surrounding areas. This left side is just showing you year over year of February only. And then this right side is showing you year to date 2025 versus 2024 in this column. So what I'll do is I start looking at median sale price, 5.4% increase year to date over last year. So if you were talking to a buyer who said, oh, we're going to wait to buy, I would literally send them this and say, here's the cost of waiting. This isn't me. This isn't me just being a real estate agent saying it's always a good time to buy a house, because I don't believe that's true. I believe it's always the right time for somebody to buy the right house for them. And so it does depend on their financial situation, what they have going on in their life, so forth. So as agents, I also ask you, please stop saying it's always the right time to buy a house. It's not. It's always the right time for somebody to buy the right house for them. So I would send them this number though and say, well, last year it was $365,000. To buy that same house this year, it's $385,000. I had a client who said, we're going to wait until we can save up some money. And this was early 2023, I think, or something. Appreciation at that time was happening faster than this. This is only 5.4%. At that time, it was something like 8.6% or somewhere in there. It was crazy. Like COVID was a massive advertisement for real estate, and our area was also one that, like, we are very blessed where we are, that we are still seeing appreciation numbers. It's not as crazy and cool as elsewhere. And we're still seeing appreciation numbers go up. So my question to him, like in this scenario, I would have gone to look up these numbers and I would have sent it to him, and I would have asked, how much money do you think you can save? Like how long, like at what point are you going to say yes, or I've saved enough? And I think his answer was something like, we want to make sure we have, you know, X amount of money, of like, I think it was an extra $50,000 or something like that. And I said, okay, well, how long is it going to take you to save $50,000? He said, it'll probably be about 16 to 18 months. I said, okay, cool. Well, at current appreciation numbers, what if I look at average sale price, what used to be 418,000 is now 446,000. So can he actually outsave the rate of the market? That's what I asked him. I said, are you going to be able to save enough money fast enough that you can beat the speed of the market? Because waiting and saving that little bit of extra money does what to his down payment? Well, it increases down payment, reduces his buying power. We don't really know interest rates, what's going to happen. Nobody's got a crystal ball. Everyone's talking about they're going to drop. I don't think they are. And if they do, it's only going to be for a short blip. while the government refinances the $7 trillion debt. It's going to go back up. So I don't think interest rates are really going to drop much more than they are now. So this question I asked, and he said, you know what, I think you're right. We should speed up our timeline a little bit more. I said 100%. If your goal is to try to buy at a lower price and then get appreciation over the next few years for your home, you should buy now, because you're going to miss out on all the appreciation if you wait. Gary Keller at Family Reunion a couple of years ago said something really funny. It was just really blunt as well. And we were looking at a history of home prices and how we were showing appreciation over time, over a long period of time. And I think he literally just said something like, the only idiots are the people that didn't buy 5 years ago. And it was just really blunt, but it was also very true in that real estate is not a wait to buy game. It's a buy real estate and wait. So that's one way that I use these numbers. I also, for sellers, I use the days on market. I don't want them freaking out, but I do want them to see that, hey, that's up 12.1%. During COVID, if you remember, our average days on market was 7 or something. I think it got down that low. Literally, a house came on the market, it sold 7 days later, and that was only because we were holding offers and so forth. And honestly, our market right now, we're kind of seeing a bit of that again. I know almost everything my clients have offered on in the last 2 weeks has been multiple offers, almost across the board. So I'm interested to see these numbers once March comes out, because I think March was a very different month than what January and February were showing. So I don't know if this is actually as true of a story of our current market, but I will use those days on market for my seller. And I will say, hey, if we're going to list your house, because sometimes they want to list at a higher price, right? And they don't want to listen. They want to go out at a higher price. So I usually tell them, okay, fine, we'll try it your way. We'll go out at that higher price. But the moment we hit this average days on market, we're doing a price reduction. And I'm going to write that into our listing agreement. And we're going to agree on that today. I'm at the listing appointment and we are agreeing on that. Sometimes I do it even faster. I'll do it on 2 weeks. Or I'll say, hey, if we're not getting 10 showings a week, or at least one offer a week, we're dropping the price. I want my sellers to understand there's a sense of urgency. And again, based on their needs, I do have sellers that are look, we don't have to sell if we can get a premium. We'll sell it. It's a different story. But I'll use those average days on market and I'll share that with my sellers. I will also share this month supply of inventory with my sellers and buyers. So that you'll see month supply of inventory. The phrase for that is absorption rate. For those that don't even know what that means, basically it's saying if not another single home came on the market starting today, how long would it take to sell through all the current inventory? And this is saying 1.7 months. It's pretty fast, because if you look at how many new listings there were, we had over 1,300 new listings. There's thousands of houses that are actually sitting out there on the market, but current absorption rate is 1.7. That's how fast things are selling, going through, and we are a little bit lower of inventory. Anyone know what that number needs to be a neutral market? Not a buyer market, not a seller market, but a neutral market. About 6.
I was gonna just guess it.
What was that?
Yeah, six.
I was doubting myself, but 6 was, because I just talked about this last week on my social media. But yes, 6.
Amazing. It is 6. So being that we're at 1.7, what market are we in?
Sellers.
Seller's market. So when you have a seller right now, I had a guy, he said, oh, well, I see the market softening. I'm worried about this. I'm worried about this and so forth. But where is he getting his information? He's getting it CNN, Fox News, and MSNBC, and God forbid he's on TikTok watching some 24-year-old who's never actually bought a home or experienced any kind of real estate market and is just regurgitating crap to try and get clicks and views. This is why it is your responsibility to be the real economist of choice for your clients in this market. So I will show him those numbers and say, hey, a neutral market or a buyer's market is 6 or above. We're at 1.7. We are in a very strong seller's market at this moment. And look at the level of appreciation. Look at the days on market. Houses sell in 37 days, give or take. And for a lot of sellers, that's quick. Imagine when it was 7. We were like, look, we're going to list your home. You're going to go find an Airbnb and have a nice weekend. We're going to sell your home that weekend. You're going to come back, pack a moving truck, and get out. Now, they actually sit in their home for about another 30 days and keep it organized. So you as an agent, you also need to be thinking about what are the tools, tips, and tricks you give your sellers to make sure they maintain the quality of their house during this on the market period. They have to keep the house show ready longer these days than they did a couple years ago when a house would just sell in one weekend. So these are all just conversations that I end up having based on these numbers. And I will print these out and I will take them with me or have screenshots of them when I go on appointments. Because when those questions pop up, and they inevitably do, I want to be able to have data to speak to. And why do I want to do that compared to me just speaking?
Is that, you're showing that you know what you're talking about, that you have to.
Yeah, it shows me as an expert, but more than anything, the market is determining the price of your home. The market is determining whether or not we're in a buyer or seller. It's not Seth determining any of this. It's my job to interpret the market and tell you what you need to do based on that. I'm a consultant and an advisor. I'm not a salesperson. I sell stuff, but more of a consultant and advisor, so the sale happens regardless. So this is why I bring this, and I want to show the hard data. That way they don't think it's my opinion or, you know, whatever, right? Like, who knows what people think? They might be nice to your face when you're at the meeting, and the moment you leave, they're like, that guy doesn't know what he's talking about, blah, blah, blah. But if you pull this up and show the hard data, they can't argue with that. This is real. This is the info. So if you're selling a condo or townhome, here's your numbers. It's the exact same thing that you did. And this is a very different story. I mean, look at the month supply of inventory. Now, there is a ton of new construction being built for condos and townhomes at the moment right now. And that's why you see like inventory of homes is higher, month supply of inventory is higher. The median price point is pretty flat. And then you have average price point went up 3.9%. Average appreciation for real estate over the last like 40 years, give or take 4%. We have a 4% trend line on appreciation. This is pretty much in line, with that. So it's nothing crazy here. And we are still in a seller's market based on our absorption rate and the fact that we're seeing things sell quickly for above list price or at list price. Like, it's a strong, healthy market here in Richmond right now. So if I'm going on a listing appointment in Powhatan, I'll pull this up, and these are the Powhatan numbers, and I will bring them with me. If I'm going on a single family home, this is what I'm showing them. Hey, right now, our average days on market is 45 days. So if your house doesn't sell in the first weekend or first 2 weeks or whatever, we're not going to panic. Here, it might take a little bit longer. There's some new construction happening out there that I think is throwing these numbers a little bit and so forth. But, you know, still, I'm using these numbers and I'm showing them median appreciation was 11.1%. Average was 3.2%. Percentage of list price received is 98.9%. It's actually down a little bit. So what's interesting there is I think there's a lot of people who are still pricing their homes really, really high because the market, and then not understanding that, like, yeah, 2021 and 2022 market is a little bit different than now. And we can't just go out at some arbitrary list price and probably sell the house. It does still need to look good. And I get pushback from sellers all the time on making their house look good. And then it needs to be priced correctly in order for it to sell quickly. And then absorption rate. 1.9. Insane. And that's actually a lot. If you got into real estate in like 2020 or 2021, like that number is actually really high. At one point, I think we were down to like 0.7 or something. So like it would take less than 1 month to sell through every piece of inventory we had at one point. So 1.9 actually feels like a lot. So when you hear people saying we're super low in inventory, I'm out there like a lot more choices right now compared to the last couple of years. So yeah, that's those stats.
Can I ask a question, Seth?
Yeah.
This is Burnett. Hey,
How we doing?
okay, if we know the average days on market, for example, 45 days, and we've got a listing, got it active, an active listing, and if we don't get any offers, say within the first 10 days or so, is it still that we should be concerned about having that conversation with the sellers? Like, okay, we need to now look again at pricing. If we know, okay, it's common that it's going to be 30 plus days on market.
And
You understand what I'm asking?
yeah, and you're saying in your scenario, you've only been on the market for like a week.
Yeah. So do we still have that urgency to have that conversation after 10 days that we haven't gotten an offer, knowing that on average it's going to be on the market for 30
Yep.
days? So
So there's some nuance there.
Okay.
One, what are your clients' needs? Are they relocating and they got to move quick? Or do they have time? Can they stay on the market? The thing
Okay.
I would look at is how many showings are you getting? Did you get showings in that first week? Because if you put a house on the market and you got 0 showings, you're overpriced.
Okay.
Plain and simple. Like that's my opinion. I think you're overpriced because real estate is about 3 things. And this is one thing that I will say, write this down, and I think use this in your listing appointments as well. Real estate is about location, condition, and price. And you, as a seller, can only affect 2 of those things. You can't change the location unless you want to pay a ton of money to have your house jacked up and physically moved, which we're not doing. So you can change condition and price. And those 2 things have to match in order for a home to sell. The price has to match the current condition, or we have to improve the condition to match the price in which you want to sell. So which one, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, do you want to do? And then and that's usually my response to those things is saying, we're not getting showings. Or if you did get showings and it still didn't sell, what was the feedback? And if you start getting feedback about condition, then we can either lower the price to match the condition, or we can fix these condition items to go match the price. But since you already went to market in this condition, you kind of lost that initial like bang and excitement. So now if you improve the condition, it's going to be harder to get people back in the door, right? You could take it off the market, do it temporarily withdrawn, improve the condition, and then put it back on. So that way it re-pings everyone's emails. And then you can reach out to the people that showed it and say, hey, your feedback you gave us, thank you. We improved this, we did this. Would your clients now be interested in it?
Okay, makes sense. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, great answer.
No problem. The location, condition, price. And the seller can only affect 2, condition and price. Those have to match each other in order to sell. Say that every single listing appointment. Any other questions? Go into these market stats here. I want to show this real quick. So this is really cool because this gets you some graphs and there's a ton of data in here. What I would recommend is when I was new into real estate, and honestly, I still do it today, just because I love spreadsheets, I love numbers, a total nerd when it comes to that stuff. When I didn't have clients, so I had appointments with myself all the time. And I never wanted people to think, because I moved here from Texas, I didn't want people to think I didn't know the market because I'm not from here. Richmond is a very like local, hyper local, your last name matters. Like it's insane, some of the stuff here in Richmond. And I never wanted anyone to question my knowledge. So I studied these market numbers like crazy because I wanted to be able to rattle them off. If I was at some party, somebody started talking things, I wanted to be able to know stuff like the back of my hand. So I would literally get in here and I would just start poking around. So I want to look at all price ranges for single family homes that are, you know, townhouses. And I want, you know, 1,500, well, that's nothing showing up. So yeah, all subject property types, 2,000 to 2,500 square feet. The average sales price is $460,000. That's an increase over the last 3 years of 4.1%. So our average appreciation for single family homes at all price points that are 2,000 to 2,500 square feet was 4.1%. And down here at the bottom, I can see how many new listings there were. So, and this follows our like spring market, then back into the winter, spring market, back into the winter. So you can also start to see trends in our market. So when sellers say, when's the best time to list my home? Again, I go back to, well, it all depends on your needs. I'm never going to necessarily tell you like we should wait till spring unless you're able to wait till spring. But in the winter time, there's always that argument that says, well, there's way less competition for buyers in the winter time because they have less to pick for. And buyers that are looking in the winter are probably pretty serious buyers. Nobody chooses to move in the middle of winter, or rarely they do. So if you're going to list your house in the winter, you're more than likely going to get a very serious buyer, a serious offer, and you have less competition from other sellers. So it could be a really good time for you to list if that's your needs. How fast do you need to sell? Could we wait? But in the spring, we know based on sale prices of homes, so percentage of list price, and COVID, look at that percentage of list price average, 105%. We literally put a house on the market, sold like crazy. It was nuts. Now we're getting 100% roughly. And that's almost 100% throughout the entire year. May, we see a little bump here. Saw a little bump here in spring market. But if you look right now, like, is this actually telling you that if you list in the spring market now, you're going to suddenly get this huge bump way over list price? Not anymore. And when we looked at these numbers here, we're actually getting 9.98%. This is even down over last year, like quite a bit. If I look at the entire MLS. So I'm now talking to people and saying, spring market doesn't necessarily mean you're going to end up selling for 105% of your list price. There's a much deeper marketing strategy we have to talk about in our pricing and condition and so forth to make that happen. It's not just the market like back in COVID is going to get you that in the spring anymore. So is listing in the spring the right time? Depends. Depends is always the answer.
Are you able to create custom graphs? Like maybe, so right now you're showing one specific data point. Are you able to create graphs that show two?
Yeah, you can start adding other things in here.
Okay.
If you want. I don't want to get too deep into this because we're what 10, 11. But yes, you can add additional things so you can start seeing the relationship of
Right.
like sale prices to times and so forth and all that. Showings to pendings. This is another example I like to use. So there's a reason I said 10 showings earlier. That number is 10. It takes roughly 10 showings to get your house sold. So in that first week that you're on the market, how many showings did you get? If you only got 2, It's like, okay, well, based on the data, we've got 8 more showings that we have to go find in order to get the house sold. So how do we get 8 more showings? You as the agent could do some reverse prospecting. You could try to find people who want to see the house. You could go find buyers yourself and show them the properties. Or you talk to your sellers about, hey, why don't we incentivize people to come in? Let's do a price reduction. And let's, because that'll re-trigger those auto emails to get in everyone's inboxes, generate some, energy around it and get some showings to happen. But I will show this showings depending, and then total showings per listing, average of 6.3. Trying to decipher how that data really happens. I mean, there's listings out there that I guess sell way faster, than the 10, but showings pending average is 10. So play in here, like come in and start looking around. You can add different areas. So if you want to change your zip code, and let's just look at like, what zip code do you want to do there? Get to the 2. 23229. So now I've added the entire MLS and I've added 23229. And we're looking at showings to pendings. So 23229 has 17 showings to a pending. I can look at sales prices. So 23229 clearly has a higher average sale price compared to other areas. And I'll sometimes have clients come and say, hey, I've got a budget of $350,000 and I want to be in 23229. What conversation am I having with them now? I'm showing them this and saying, hey, the average price point for there is $513,000. I don't know if we're going to find what's in your budget. Are you open to going outside of that location? Where else are you interested? And again, that's now not Seth being the bad guy. That's me showing hard data and information and saying the market is saying you probably aren't going to get into that zip code. It's not me. So
Ah,
hate me.
that was an aha moment for me.
Good.
Because you have clients all the time wanting to live or buy in a certain area and not be able to afford the average price there. Great. I like this.
Yep. And you can do this for any area zip code. You can actually go in here and you can draw an area. So if you have a client that tells you where they want to be, you can go draw this area, look up that average price point. And when they're like, oh, we'd love to live in Westover Hills. Well, how much money do you have? We got a couple nickels. We're probably not going to get you into a home in Westover Hills.
Yeah.
So another great tool to use and play with this, like time block on your calendar a few hours a week. That's literally just market stats, and get in here and go look at fast stats, go look at info sparks, and just play with these tools and start learning how to use them. So that way, you know how to best talk about it. Over here, you can change, do I want like a 1-year period? Do I want a 10-year period? And I think this is always important to use too, because what is that graph actually doing? Like, yes, there's a bunch of up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down. And this is why I hate the stock market a lot of times, because the moment the stock market has a little blip, what happens? Everyone freaks out, starts selling and so forth. But if you were to hang on this graph and you drew a straight average line, this graph, the line actually increases upwards the entire time. So when you zoom out on data, it paints a very different story than just this one small little blip time period here. So like when you look at COVID, we had the super jump and then the super drop. Well, what caused that? And over time, we had an increase. So you can sometimes calm your clients' minds down a little bit if they're thinking, oh, the market's dropping, this is happening, this is happening. It's like, yeah, but how long do you plan on staying in this house? 10 years? Well, look what happened over 10 years. Cool. Any questions on any of this or thoughts or ahas? Anyone online have any ahas or thoughts?
I think this is amazing. I have been confused on how to take advantage of this tool, so this has been very helpful. Thank you.
All right, so that's market stats. It is 10:17. Can everyone go? CMA is going to take us a minute to do. So does everyone want to take a quick bathroom break for like 5 minutes and then we'll come back? Or does everyone just want to power through? Feel like everyone's a little brain dead. Why don't we take 5 minutes? Everyone get coffee or an energy drink, do some jumping jacks, push-ups, whatever you want to do, and we'll get back to it. So we'll be back here at, let's just say 10:25. We will start. How's it going? Good. All good. What call do you think? I know probably also hard. Yeah. Good. So what do you, as a junior, do you already have figured out where you're going to college? So, yeah, where are you thinking or what are you wanting?
Maybe something like UT Wilmington or UT.
Okay, why there?
My family, my
Okay.
dad was, played soccer UT. I've been there a few times and it's cool.
Yeah, okay, sweet. And then what do you want to study?
I was thinking either business or maybe some other kind of like, I don't know, maybe sport management.
Yeah, play sports now. Okay. What do you play?
I play baseball, soccer,
Nice. Which one?
soccer.
Soccer. Yeah. Nice. What position are you?
Middle.
Goalie. Okay. All right. Goalies are, yeah, where they're weak. So that's a hard job. Sweet. Now do you play varsity? Yeah. Nice. Like starting varsity? That's awesome. Then what's your position for baseball?
I don't play the first.
Okay, man, first base is hard too. First base is real hard. I tried that once. Center field is more like it. I love center field and second base. And then pitch some, but center field and second base are my jam. Love that. Yeah, first base. That's brutal.
It's not that bad.
Well, like the awareness level that you have at first base, and like I was also never limber enough with my hips to be able to stretch to like dig a ball, that kind of thing. I was just incapable of doing it, so I just wasn't very good at it. All right, 10:25. Let's jump back in here real quick. So our next steps that we want to work on is basics of doing a CMA. For those that don't know what CMA means comparative market analysis. So this is what you're doing for literally every single client. In my opinion, I think you should do this for buyers as well. This isn't just for sellers to help determine the value of homes. Anytime your client is looking to make an offer on a house, I run at least a quick CMA because I want to make sure that my client's not, grossly overpaying for something, that it's priced correctly. There's actually a house in my neighborhood right now that for some reason came to the market at like $100,000 over what I think it's actually priced at. It is quite insane. So if my client was interested in that house, because I've run the CMA, I can show them the hard data that says, hey, here's what's going on with this house. And once again, it's not my opinion in that. It is, look, here's the market information. This isn't Seth being a bad guy. This is me just interpreting the information and being a consultant for you and telling you this is overpriced. So anytime you can use the hard data, do it. All right. Anyone online or in person have a potential listing coming up soon that we could actually use as an example for running a CMA?
Yes, I do have one.
Okay, awesome.
And good morning, everybody. So you just need the address.
Yep, what is it?
7698 Lynn, Lynn, Creek Road.
So first thing that I would do first is here in tax search. And I'll probably have some questions about this as we go along.
Okay.
So just, be ready. Pop up. So tax search, and I'd come to realist tax, and I want to look up this property. So 7698 Lynn Creek
Drive, yeah.
That's in, so it's not road, it's drive.
Yeah.
All right, and whoa, which one of these is it?
What? That's none of them. It was a weird property because it was just built last year, and the whole situation, even when I was doing the CMA, actually was a little different. And I usually use RPR instead of realist.
Yeah, this, I just want to get the tax form, but yeah.
Let me make sure I'm also giving you the correct address and not messing up numbers. 7698. Yep, that's it, Lynn Creek.
North Prince George. Go find the neighbor's house.
Let's see.
Yeah, it goes 7691 to 7699.
It's weird. That's very weird. So it would be that one that doesn't have a house in the block. It would be that. Yes.
There it is. Why was that not pulling? Interesting. Good old Prince George, not updating tax records very fast.
Yeah.
Not unnatural for them. Also, if you're selling a house in Prince George, one quick word of advice that I learned the hard way, their fiscal year is run through halfway through the year. So make sure that your settlement company is doing taxes properly. Because if they call Prince George and say, hey, have the first half of the year taxes been paid? They might say, no, they haven't, or yes, they have. But what they're actually talking about is June to December for first half of the year, not the other way around. And so I had some clients who ended up getting a tax bill because we were told, oh, they have been paid, but because they were thinking first half of the year is January to June, they hadn't actually been paid that second half of the year, and a proration amount could have been. So my clients got screwed out of like $1,600, and I called the settlement agent and I was like, you need to write a check. Like, you need to make this right for my clients. So we got the check, they were taken care of, but we learned the hard way. Prince George, do things backward. All right, so new construction, 3-bed, 2.5 bath. Interesting, built in 2023. So I'm just trying to basically give myself information about this property that I know I can then go run a alert or a CMA on. And because it wasn't immediately popping up, I want to be able to use a different address to search from, which would be 7699 is what we're going to do. All right. So I'm going to go into search, residential full. And because I know this is a single family home, selecting single family. And this is the way I do it. And then you can kind of adjust over time. But I want to see everything that is going on around this property. So I look at coming soon, active, were there any expires? I want to find pending, release, sold, and sold non-MLS. I select all of those as I'm doing this. And 7699 Golden Creek Drive. So I can select that. And so I'm already seeing whenever you search this way, I'm looking for anything that's within 1/4 mile of this address. And since it was across the street from the other one, I know it's going to pull the stuff up. And I'm already showing 4 matches. Is that enough for me to be able to run a full CMA? Maybe, maybe not. So let's increase this to 1/2 mile. I now have 11 properties. I more than likely can get the information I need and get close enough to a price range of what I think this house is going to sell for with 11 matches. I do want to familiarize myself with the area where it's at. Okay. So there's probably, yeah, lots of new construction, new in the most recent years. And now I want to look at results. Do I need to narrow this further? Probably a little bit. And so this house was 3-bedroom. So I can probably get rid of the 5-bedroom houses. So here in total bedrooms, I just want to look at 3 to 4 beds. So that narrowed down 1. And then my square footage, I wonder if this will show. If I pull this up. Nope. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull up a calculator. The way that I do this is I want to take this square footage here. Have you confirmed with them if this square footage is correct? Or were there changes made to the house where that might be a little bit different compared to the actual property?
That is correct.
That is correct. Okay. So I'm going to take the 2,025 square feet. And what I want to do is I want to get a 20% range on either side of that square footage. So that's going to give me my like kind square footage range for this house. So I'm going to take 2,025 and I'm going to multiply that by 80% or by 0.8 because I want to get what is 20% down in square footage, and that is 1,620. So now if I go to my total finished square footage, I'm going to do 1,620 to take the 20,025 square feet and multiply it by 1.2. So I get 20% above that square footage range. And that comes out to 2,430. And you'll see I'm now down to 7 matches. So we went from 11 down to 7. And that is still enough properties that are now like kind that I can start determining what things are going to look like. Now I'm going to look at my results. I've got 2 active. So I would include these or at least take them with me when I go meet with this seller. And I want to say, hey, if we were to go to the market today, here's your competition. Because if somebody's looking in this area, and they're looking for, a 3-4 bed home, they're also looking at these. So what do we have to do? We might have to make your house look better. We might have to add some kind of incentive. We might have to be better priced. We need to do something that is going to make any of these buyers choose your house over these other ones. And we're going to, compare to it, right? And then I've also got all these closed properties. We can pretty quickly start to see 360, 375, 375, 370, 410. I'm already starting to get an idea of a price range here, right? I use carts a lot when I'm doing CMAs. So what I do is when I start finding properties that I think are good ones to compare to, I'll create a cart. So I'm going to select all of these, and then I'm going to create a new cart. We're going to call this, was it 60 or no, 7698, right? Lynn
7698. Yep, Lynn Creek.
Drive. All right, I can assign this to a contact if I wanted to. Don't have to, and hit save. And so now I've put those 7 in a cart. So now I can go view this. So let's, if back on that previous screen, if I still had those 11 others and I just wanted to manually filter those out, I could select the properties I wanted to add to the cart and do that. So I can keep refining my search down to find the most comparable properties. What I do next is I literally just go through every house and I start looking and going, how does this compare to the other property I'm looking at? This thing is outdated, totally different style. It needs some work. Doesn't look like there's central HVAC that's in here. Built in 54, my favorite decade for houses, by the way. Just know that you're probably going to have to replace a sewer line. If they haven't been replaced, it's going to be cast iron. It's going to be disgusting. So always get sewer line scopes on houses built like 60s and earlier, unless you know that the sewer line has been replaced. It's got 5 acres to it. So there's the value, right? 5 acres in the area, but this really isn't a comp. However, if somebody's going to drive down to Prince George and they want to check out, your listing, they might go ahead and pop into here unless they're wanting something that's already move-in ready. It's very different though, so it's not really super comparable. This one here, built in 2023, and yours was built also in 23. Okay, so that's similar. We're within the square footage price range or square footage range. This is 1,800, so it's a little bit smaller, but it is 3 bedrooms, 2.5 bath, and we are 2.5 bath, 3 bedrooms. Your potential listing is 3 bedrooms, right? Tax record.
It is. Yes.
Again, always verify these things, like have a seller intake and verify these things, because sometimes with new construction, there'll be like a loft space that they convert into a bedroom, but they didn't update, like the permitting when finalizing this. And so you might have a 4-bedroom house, but tax records say 3 and so forth. Let's take a look at this. They added a privacy fence. Pretty nice kitchen. Steelers fan and Eagles fan. Boo, get out of here. By the way,
No.
tell your clients to take all this stuff down. Like, do not let your clients stay at your house like this. Like, I understand, but it'll impact things. Get rid of it all. Get rid of the live, laugh, love. This isn't eat, pray, love. Bathrooms look nice. So, I mean, yeah, built in 2023, it's probably going to be pretty solid. This is going to be a good comp. So this is great competition. So I'm looking at this and going 385. It's been on the market only for 3 days. I'd probably call this agent and say, hey, You listed that house. How many showings have you got? What's the activity been like? I might check the showing schedule. Simple enough to just look at this, schedule a single showing. There's 0 showing scheduled. These confirmed in my showings later today that I had with a different client. So they've got 0 showings scheduled on that house. So now what am I already starting to determine? Might be overpriced, right? It's only been on the market 3 days. Maybe they had showings over the weekend though, and they already got a contract and it's about to go under contract and you don't know. So call the agent. Hey, I might have a listing in the area. Just curious, how's your listing going? Right? All right, so that's a decent one that we care about. So I'm going to check it. And then we go here. So this is 4 bedrooms, about the same square footage, 2.5 baths. Built in 2018. Decent sized lot. And then just start looking at photos. All right, looks nice. Nothing in here. Ooh, it backs up to a nice wooded area, so it's not in the middle of a neighborhood. Some people love that. Not a huge fan of that carpet. I think that's all laminate countertops, even in the kitchen. So, but overall, pretty solid. Go to the next one. 4 bed, 2.5 bath, 2014, so it's a little bit older, good sized lot. Let's make sure that it's just decent.
I remember showing all of these houses before.
Yeah. Okay, so I mean, it's nice. Some contractor grade things that are in here. Nothing super crazy. Okay. So let's go ahead and select that. I feel like the majority of the rest of them are going to be the 2008, 0.42, but it's 3 bed, 2 bath. Sold for 375 and was only on the market 30 days. So yeah, and that, kind of average days on market. I would go look at average days on market for Prince George, kind of figure out what's there. And that carpet is rough. Carpet's cheap. Have your clients replace it. All right, solar panels. All right, we'll take that one too.
So it is okay to choose houses with more bedrooms than your target?
Yep, we're gonna adjust them here in a minute.
Okay,
Right
okay.
now, I'm just looking to see if I can get stuff that's like,
Sorry, I'm jumping ahead.
yeah, all good. So 3 bed, 2 bath, 2,000 square feet, but ooh, love a brick rancher. Oh wow. Look at that carpet. Look at those window treatments. This looks the Apple Jacks. Man, this needs some work. Basement. Got a little potential moisture intrusion coming in there. All right. All right. I bet that house feels huge. So big sprawling ranch. Sold for 370 still and on the market 66 days. And I bet if we look at the history, so coming soon, active, yeah, they had to do a price reduction, which is what I was thinking, went pending, and yeah, they started at 407. This would be a good example. I'd probably bring this one with me to meet with the seller too. Say, hey, here's the cost of starting too high. Like, had they originally priced it at 380, they probably would have gotten 380. But because they started at 407, they got 370 because inevitably, when a house sits on the market for a little bit longer, what do buyers think? What's wrong with that house? Something wrong, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. So I'm not going to select that one because it's kind of out of our idea of like newer house. This is 2018, 4 bed, 2.5 baths, square footage, a little bit bigger. We'll make adjustments for that. 0.3 acres on the market 5 days. Hey, good job, Kristen. She priced it correctly. There must be something a little bit nicer with this one. Yeah, looks clean. Lots of kitchen cabinets. Got like big old pantry, coffee area, 3-panel craftsman doors. Big primary bedroom. Nice bath. Sweet maintenance-free deck. Maintenance-free fencing. I mean, there's some nice little upgrades with this house that the other ones didn't have. So we're going to select that one as well. So now I've gone through all of these and we left 2 of them out. So now I'm down to 5 of them. What I'm going to do is under this actions tab here, you have CMA. So I'm going to click on that and it brings you to the CMA building tool. So we're going to go build our PDF CMA. You can create a new contact, or you can, use one of the ones you already have. Let's create a new one. We're going to call them KW training. Email is kwtraining@email.com. All right, so pages. These are automatically included in this CMA. You can also upload your own custom pages. So if you have certain branding or certain things that you want, or like if you talk about the pricing triangle and you've learned other scripts and other things, you can go into Canva, create those pages, and you can upload them here. For this training, we're just going to use what already exists. So cover photo. I like doing the cover sheet with a photo. If you haven't been to the house yet, how do you get a photo? Go to Google Street View. Go to the MLS. Was it listed before? If I go to Realist, oh, I've got a photo right here. Let's save this image. Let's just stick it on our desktop. And now I've got an image. Subject properties, summary list and pricing adjustments, comparables. I don't use all of these because if you did, it would take you a very long time to get through this entire report with your client when it's sitting there. So for me, I like the mins and maximums. I use this pro report and I use a pricing recommendation sheet. This list price to sale price ratio, I will sometimes use it depending on the client, sometimes not, but it's literally just that. It shows list price compared to sale price, and I can get that with a quick CMA. So I don't necessarily need it on here. MLS has kindly added some tables in here for you to be able to use. So activity versus timing, my guarantee to you, effects of overpricing. If you want to use these sheets, go learn what they say, learn how to speak to them, and then you can include these. And then the map, I use the CMA map. Let me see if I can make this bigger. Is that better? All right. So now these are all my selected pages that I have here. And now I can add my subject property. It's in Realist, but it was under a different name. So let's find my parcel ID, copy that. And then where are we? Prince George. Prince George, tax ID, hit results. So now it shows up. So basically I just found the subject property. So you select the county, and then you could either search by address or whatever, but because I know the address wasn't in there, I had to go find the tax ID, and I just used the tax ID to find it. So select this property, hit fill from selected, and done. So now I can go fill all this out. So we're 76, 98, Lynn, Creek. Oops, nope, that's just the numbers. Street name is Lynn, Creek. And total bathrooms is 2.1, number of bedrooms is 3, full baths 2, half baths 1. It is 2-level home, right?
Correct.
Any pool?
No pool.
2-car garage, I assume,
It is.
just like all the others. does have our acreage, which is nice, and our finished square footage will plug in. Year built 2023. All right, and then you get down here, most of the time, like if it already has the address and stuff in there, a lot of this stuff auto fills out. You wouldn't actually have to go through and put all that stuff in. It would fill some of that out based on the tax records. You just want to confirm it, update it. And then you have custom fields, and you can add, change whatever you want in here. So if I was comparing a home that like had a really nice patio, like somebody spent like 20 grand on a nice paver patio, compared to a lot of the other homes that don't, I would add that in here. And so since that's not in this, you just create your own. So literally just type patio, hit OK, and now it's added that in here. And then I can even assign a value to it if I wanted to, or whatever. Or you can search, you can link it to the MLS matrix field and choose, any one of these options that's in here if you needed to do that. So like, is there something unique about the house compared to the other ones? But since this is one LGI, they pretty much build the same house over and over again. And this neighborhood seems to be an LGI neighborhood. So I can't think of one that's in here right now, but maybe you do garage or something like that. So garage type, hit OK, because now you can say this is a 2-car, or maybe it's something where like they built an extra garage, so now you have a 5-car garage or something that you were doing in here. This house seems to be like everyone else's, but that's just an example of like a field you could add if you needed to based on the house. We can upload our photo here. And then you could put remarks in here if you wanted, so forth. So here's our cover. You could add the person's name, comparables. I want to select all of these because I'm going to use them all. So when I look at a map, I always look here because I want to confirm that I didn't accidentally select something that's like showing on the map way out of range. Nope, they're all literally right there. So now I can make adjustments to my market analysis. You can do it on this page. This is harder for me to look at and read, and I'm not a huge fan of it. So this view in detail mode is nicer for me to see, at least, because I can just compare one house to one house and I can see what exactly I'm comparing. So my number of bedrooms is the exact same. My full baths, the same. Half baths is also the same. Off-street paved driveway. Clearly, I'm looking at it. There's a 2-car garage here. That also has a 2-car garage, so that's the same. Acreage is the same. Finished square footage. I know it's within the range, but we do need to go figure out how much it is. So 2854 Meadow. Let's go find that. 2854 Meadow View. Why is that not pulling up? I guess they haven't updated that already. What did I call this cart?
AW training.
Lynn Creek, there it is.
Oh,
Meadow View, so 1,800 square feet here. So I actually need to plug that in. So normally this would say 1,800 right here, and we need to make adjustments for that. If it's over like 50 square feet, and again, this is the thing that confuses everyone when it comes to doing a market analysis on a property, is the square footage. Because everyone goes, well, how much do I adjust for square footage? Because if I have a property in the West End, I'm probably adjusting at a higher dollar amount than I am a property in Prince George. So you just have to make a good, educated decision based on that. If it's a higher priced property in the West End that's $1 million property, I might be adjusting it by $100 a square foot or $125 a square foot. If it's a property like this, I might only be adjusting by $25 a square foot, maybe $40 a square foot. I'm going to start playing with this and kind of figuring out what to do. So all I'm doing now is take this 2025 square foot minus the 1800, and I get 225 square feet. Now, let's just say $25 a square feet is my adjustment. So take the 225 times 25, and I'm going to make an adjustment of $5,625. And the reason that's a positive movement is because, and remember, you only ever change the pricing of the comparable property. You never change the subject property. You move the comparable property toward the subject property. So if this house had 2,025 square feet, it would increase the value of that by $5,625 based on, we're assigning $25 square foot value. That makes sense for everyone. If this was bigger than the subject property, then this would be a minus sign that we put in here to lower it. But because it's not, we're just doing 5, 6, 5. So we're adding the value. Days on market. Yeah.
So I'm trying to follow this. So you take the difference in the square footage and multiply it by how much that the subject house is per square foot?
Nope, I picked a value based on like what an appraiser would do
Oh, of the subject or the one that you're?
of the subject property
Okay.
for that area. Actually, it's not even the subject property, it's just that area. So I might, like, one, I think everyone should have an appraiser's phone number or a couple of appraisers' phone number, but call and just say, hey, for this area, what would you roughly give a price per square foot value estimate if you were doing an appraisal? Just ask the question. A lot of times they'll tell you, and they might say, oh, down there, it's probably $40 a square foot or $25 a square foot or whatever it is. But just call and get that information. They were both built in 2023. Condition, when we went through this property. Oh, this is that one. It's roughly the same condition, I'm going to assume.
Lynn Creek is a little bit better. 7698.
Got it. Okay. So how would it be better? How would you say?
They don't have can you go through the living room portion again? They do have the carpet. It's more the layout. It's the layout that's a little bit better than this. I guess it's not better. It just depends on who's buying the house, if you like that or not. But the kitchen leads to the garage, and things like that. Maybe it's just the things that are in the house that are making it.
Have a bunch of Steelers stuff.
That's true.
And okay, point proven. This is why you properly stage a house. Yeah, this primary bedroom, it's not huge, but like it feels so much smaller because they've got all this stuff too. So tell your sellers to get things out. That's the one thing we didn't really do was, let's go see.
Now, does it matter? Do you adjust or can you adjust based off of where the lot is located? Like if it's a corner lot?
Yeah, if the neighborhood demands that. I know some people care about that. Most people, I feel these days, especially in a neighborhood like this, they don't care, as far as a corner lot and stuff.
Wouldn't it be mostly considered like golf, homes on a golf course or something like that?
Yeah, like what are you backed up to?
Yeah.
Does your corner lot give you more space is the thing. Like I know we were looking at a house down in Meadowville Landing, and I did give it more value because that corner lot, the way it was set, the HOA actually owned another like 50 feet of space to the side of them. So it almost felt like they had a double lot, but technically they didn't own that space, but they got to utilize that space, and the HOA mowed it, took care of it, and did everything else. So it's like, you don't have anyone on that side of you. It almost feels like a double lot. Like that I would give more value to compared to if this property, like when I look at the map on it, it has a road next to it. And the lot size doesn't seem much bigger than the other lots. So, I mean, I could be wrong. I haven't been here, But I don't know if because this one's a corner lot, I would give more value to it. Some people actually might hate that it's on a road. If you've got young kids, they might actually look at that and go, that's a detractor for them, right? So again, all depends on who the buyer is.
Hey Seth, I have a question.
Yeah,
How do you determine if you want to stage it or not? Like, how do you feel is like your best bet with selling it if it's staged, or should you just leave it kind of like clear just to explain like the spacing of everything?
I will always stage a property if it's within a client's budget.
Okay, okay.
The data on that shows you get about a 10%, at least a 10% return on the amount of money you spend into staging. So you get your money back plus. It just, staging helps sell a home. It just does. So if a client can afford it, then great. Sometimes you can work out deals with stagers where, hey, can you stage this and you get paid at closing? Maybe you have a program where you will pay for the staging up front and then charge the client at closing plus like a 10% fee for, loaning out the money, something. So you can have a special program that you do, but I will always say stage a home if it's in budget, stage it.
So I have a question, Seth.
Mhm.
This looks like it would be a good exercise to go through. I have a client who's looking to sell and wants to know their return on investment if they added another bathroom to their bedroom, make it a master suite. And they want to know what's going to be the value of my house. I sent some comps, but this looks like it could give me a little more detail to present to them.
Because you can make an adjustments for this, right?
Yes,
Like
yes, that's
right here, let's say this had a third bathroom,
right.
depending on the area,
Mm-hmm.
an extra full bathroom could give you value anywhere from like 5 grand to 15 grand, maybe even 20 grand, depending on
Right,
where it is.
right.
If it's, this level of home,
Uh-huh.
I'm probably giving a full bathroom about a $5,000 value, maybe $8,000, somewhere in there.
Okay, okay.
But on this property, I think we're pretty close as far as a comp. So let's move on to the next one. So we're 4 bedrooms. So here, because this is the comparable property's 4 bedrooms, I have to reduce the value of it to match the 3 bedrooms of this one. So we're going to remove, and we're just going to say $15,000 because the area roughly. Full bathroom's the same, half bath is the same. I assume this house probably has a 2-car garage. Let's find out real quick. Yeah, 2-car garage inside there. That's about the same. You're literally talking about a $50 difference here, so that's nothing too crazy. Year built. We're gonna leave that for now. If we need to come back and make adjustments, we can. The house that you're selling, does it have any kind of privacy fence or anything on it? It lost it.
Sorry, I was muted. Yes, it does. It's like this fence that you're actually viewing now.
Okay, so it is like a maintenance-free PVC style.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay, perfect. Then we can just leave that as is. Let's remind ourselves of the interior here. So it's a little bit more dated, I'm gonna assume, but I mean, it's still like, laminate countertops. People don't like brown cabinets, although certain browns coming back. All right, well, let's make a small adjustment on condition. And I'm just gonna say, this house, in order to match the other one, it's gotta come up $10,000 to kind of match. And that's just accounting for maybe a little bit of age, probably original HVAC systems in that house. It's 2014. So we're now talking about they're 11 years old. Average lifespan of HVAC and so forth. It's getting older. The roof's a little bit older now. So we're just going to do $10,000. We might want to increase that a little bit later. Just depends. All right, next house, 3 bed, 2 bath, doesn't have this half bath, so let's add $2,500 to it. For a half bath, it is one level. That's about the same, but we do need to make a big adjustment for square footage. So 2025 minus 1689 times 25, so that's 8,400. We're adjusting days on market, which is kind of within range. It is older, so I'm also gonna adjust that. Let's just say $10,000 and 7628 Rolling Hill. It's a little bit dated value wise, or looks wise. It's not too terrible, but let's just do 10,000 on that. And go to our next one. This is minus 15,000 for the bedroom. It's got the same baths, half baths. It's bigger in square footage, so 2,334 minus 2025 times $25. And because this one is now bigger, we have to do minus 7725. 2018, I think we'll leave the same. And condition of that one. This one's nice, but let's just.
Seth, I have a question. Do you have like a pricing sheet that you would go off of just to make these adjustments?
No, so much of it is honestly like when I first got into real estate, I did this like 10 times a week. And I picked different areas, I picked different listings, I picked different houses, and I just did this over and over and over again until I started to see like, oh, well, these houses sold for this much more, this sold for this much more. And you just kind of intuitively start getting value over time. But no, I didn't have a price sheet. If you want one, you can go find them online. Prices just vary so widely, and with the cost of materials and stuff changing so much recently, it's really hard to judge that unless you're in it every day. So that's why I think it's always best to just like go practice putting together a CMA with comps 10 times a week for the next 3 months, and you'll be a pro.
And also maybe looking at some of the appraisals that we've gotten back and seeing how those appraisers have been adjusted. Not saying use their numbers, but just kind of see what they're adjusting off of and using that as a guide.
All right, so we adjusted every property. And so here on this side, we'll start to see all the changes we made, and we can see our low, our median, our average, and our high. And this is what it was. This is our adjustments. And so now I can go to my pricing sheet and it shows me the same thing. And then I can enter in a suggested list price here. I never give just one number because every scenario is different. I always do a range. So based on these numbers, and again, I didn't do a seller intake on this property, so I don't know all the details and so forth, but based on the little bit that I can see from the data, I would probably write something in here like, I would have gotten my seller's timeline in my initial phone call, right? So let's pretend that the seller's like, I want to have this house sold within 20 days of going on the market. Like that's their ideal timeline. So I would say, in order to sell your home within your 20-day timeline, I would, the market suggests that price your home in the range of, and I'd probably say 375 to 390. And I give them a range. And then when I go make my net sheet, I now have a range. And I would put on my net sheet 3 values, 375, probably a middle range of like 383, and then a high range of 390. So it's like, if the market gets us multiple offers and so forth, we might even go higher than 390 based on this here. But if we don't, our actual range that we're thinking in is somewhere here in this 380s range. And if we have to, we definitely could probably sell your house for 375. And then when I hit this finish button, it gives me some options. And when you hit view CMA, this might take a second, but it'll create a nice PDF that you can now email, print, take with you on your listing appointment, and then be able to go through this report with your client. Come on. Yep. So now you have your report. Print this out and take it with you with your client. This first page is pretty much the one that I show everyone, and I show them my adjusted comparable prices. Because if they start looking at these, if my adjusted comparable prices are lower than the average, they might start going, why is mine cheaper, blah, blah, blah. This one, we're actually a little bit higher on the median and average. So it's an easier conversation with the seller saying, hey, your property is actually really great. I think we might be able to get more than our average in the market. But don't forget, we do have these 2 active properties that will be your competition. So we just need to make sure that we're better than them in some way. So show this, and then you can go through your report and you can literally show them, here's all the adjustments I made for each property on here and how I determine the pricing. We adjusted for bedrooms, square footage, for bathrooms. This shows you as the market expert again. The market is speaking to this. It's not necessarily you determining the value. And then this is that pro report that basically just shows all the properties. I do print out the pictures of the comps and I take those with me and I show them to the seller. And because if their house isn't as nicely updated or there's something going on with it, I want them to see the other photos so they know, oh, well, our house isn't as nice. And I go, well, great. Based on those photos and the information you now know, what would you price your house at in order to sell? I make them choose. And then if it's in line with what I think, great. I go, you guys are so smart. You're really smart sellers. Glad you said that. Here you go. Show them the net sheet. But this is that entire report. You can narrow this down however you want. Like when you make those page selections, and then this is that pricing page that we did. So I'll go here with my sellers a lot of times and say, cool. So based on this information, here's the range I think we're at. How are you feeling about things? And that's my conversation. So that's how I make a CMA, is this for every single property. And I'm doing this for buyers. I do it for sellers. I do it for everyone. And I would just say, get really good at doing this by doing it over and over and over. All right, questions on CMAs?
Hi, Seth.
Yep.
Seth, this is James Jones. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Appreciate this. This has been great. My question is, have you found a way to be able to show the condition of each one of your comps? Because most of the pictures are static and usually only face. Do you end up sending a list of the comps being used in a separate email just so they too can see the conditions of the home, which may have like 30 photos, 23 photos? Is there any way that can be done within a CMA? Because obviously we mentioned the price, location, and condition.
Yeah, so what I do is when I go here and I have everything in the cart and I, select which ones we wanted. I think, was it this one and this one we didn't use? Go to print. And then I do this 360 property view, and it prints the listing and the photos along with the properties. And so if I were to just look at this in a PDF, I would print this and take it with me to show my clients. Because if this ever actually generates, you'll be able to see that it has the photos included in it. So now I can show my clients the photos right there in person. Say, here's why I made adjustments on the condition of that other property.
All right, so that's the only way to do that then. I understand. Appreciate that. Thanks.
I mean, you could also have your laptop with you down in Prince George. Like, might not have the greatest of internet, possibly, you know, so weary of that. But yeah, so this is what I print out, and then it's got all the photos included in this report. So now I can show them this and say, hey, based on these photos and everything you know about the property, what do you think, you know, how would you compare your home, and what do you think we should price your home at?
Correct. Okay, great. Thanks, Seth. Appreciate it.
We had a question in here.
Yeah, so I was wondering, when you're comparing the properties and adjusting the prices, I know you said to ask an appraiser about the square footage, and I know like with experience you'll get it, but would you call an appraiser for like bedrooms as well and bathroom prices? Would you just like look in the area, look at the sales prices and kind of just figure it out?
Yeah, so for those online, the question was, you know, we could call an appraiser to kind of help determine like what the adjustment we would make on square footage, but would you do the same for beds, baths, that kind of thing? 100% can. For me, I just go look at the comps and I see, oh, a 4-bedroom house, it looks like it on average sells X amount of dollars more. And then I usually, when I'm making my adjustments, I don't use that full amount. I use a lesser amount. Because sometimes neighborhoods truly can have just caps. Like I have a house now in a neighborhood that literally like houses just now started selling for a little over $400,000. But it was like, it didn't matter what house you had or how nice it was. That neighborhood was like $400,000 cap. Now we're starting to see things that are a little bit higher. So you kind of just have to go look at it and find that out. So yeah, look at the comps and just see, okay, what did a 5-bedroom house sell for compared to a 3? And then you can start finding that. Cool. Any other questions before we move on?
I have a question, Seth.
Yeah.
So for example, if you have a seller that's trying to buy another property, right? Meaning like they're selling their home and they're looking at buying another home, do they get a pre-approval first, or do you base what they I guess approve for, or what they can purchase based on how much you sell their home for?
Yeah, so I'm definitely sharing my market analysis with the with their lender and saying, hey, here's what I think their house is going to be able to sell for. I also put together a full net sheet that shows them an estimate of here's what I think they're going to walk away with after they pay all their fees. So worst case scenario, when I start factoring out grantor's tax, if they have to do septic inspections, well inspections, is there an HOA cost where they have to order a resale packet? What is their liens that are on the property? So first mortgage, second mortgage, do they owe money on a HELOC? Do they owe money on solar panels? I'll usually calculate in like a buyer agent commission and a listing agent commission at like 3% or more. Because I want to show them like worst case scenarios here of this is what I think you could walk away with at the end, and then share that with the lender. So that way they can pre-approve them based on that net number, not necessarily just the sale price. And a good lender will know how to do a net sheet as well, and figure that out.
Okay, so you kind of get an idea of where they want to move to, and you still bring the CMA for the amount that they're trying to buy for, or the amount that their house is selling for.
Hold on, I'm a little confused. So where they're looking to buy, I don't run a CMA for buyers until I know the house that they want to make an offer on.
Okay.
Then I'm running a CMA for them on that. But for sellers, I'm definitely doing this on their current house. I'm doing the net sheet. So that way we can share with the lender, here's how much money they're going to have, and that affects their buying power.
Okay. So you don't take them to look at homes until after the selling part is done? Or is it after once you put it on the market?
Yep. If they're contingent upon selling their house first, I won't show them home until I know they can go buy a home.
Okay.
And I think everyone should make a practice of don't show homes to not pre-approved buyers. Like your client should be showing you like, I am capable of purchasing a home, but your time is valuable. It's like, do they have proof of funds? Do they have a pre-approval letter? Like you shouldn't just be working with nobody. Now, it is good for you to go see homes, you know, and get into homes, especially if you're new and start learning that. But yeah, I wouldn't just randomly show them homes unless I know they can purchase it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. All right, realist. We've only got 40 minutes. I want to make sure we get some of these other things. So let's blow through a couple of these things. So realist tax information, you can kind of saw a little bit of that here. Like when you find the property, let's look at a different one that makes more sense. So let's just use this one here. This clearly looks like a rental property for someone. Oh, no, their last name just looks like a rental property. So this tells you basically property information, 3 beds, 2 baths. They bought it in 2019 for $281,000. It's got 1,910 square feet. I get lot size, it's about 0.3. Built in 2017. And I can also start looking at their mailing address of the sellers. I get seller's name and mailing address. If that mailing address was different than the address of the property we're looking at, what does that probably tell you? It's probably a rental property or something, right? So if you've got somebody who's wanting to target rental properties, that's a good way to go find them. It's like, does the mailing match non-mailing or subject property match mailing address or not? Forgot how to talk there for a second. You can get tax information, and when you click here, it'll take you to that county's website, so you can actually go look deeper at that property. You need to. You can see the current assessed value. So 2024, we are 2025, and if you look at these assessments from 2022, it's jumped pretty significantly. So you can probably count 2025 is going to show another increase in value. And if you go to the actual county's website and search the property on here, you'll probably be able to find the 2025 if they've come out yet. Again, Georgia's weird. Are they actually not going to do it until halfway through the year? You can see your actual tax dollar amount down here. So when you're running your net sheet for your client, you can use this number here for the tax amount. Because depending on what time of the year you sell, your client's going to have to pay some tax proration for the time of the year that they own the house. So you can go take this number and figure that out. Land use. This is something that I will check on a lot of properties because I want to make sure that the property is conforming to its correct usage. So if you're selling a house that looks like they're running a tax advisor business out of it, and yet you go look at the land use and it's like residential zoning, you know, R25, it's like, oh, well, they shouldn't really be running that business out of there unless the county allows it and so forth. So now you can start determining, is this being properly used or not? Is there some kind of issue that we might run into here based on how they're using the property? This again is just all information on the property that we already got at the top of the page, but it gives you a little bit more. So I know heating type. A lot of this information can be wrong as well. So please confirm these things as you go along. It's an attached garage, composite shingle, gable. Doesn't tell me like sewer system in here. So it's like, is it a septic system? Is it not? I'm going to figure those out. This person, you get a cell score indicator, 851. In Realist, you can actually search by cell score indicator. You want to go find some potential sellers, go filter by cell score indicator of like 600 or more, and then start mailing these people or go knock on their door or use a skip tracing software and get their phone number and call them in a TCPA compliant friendly way.
How do you search by cell score?
I'll show you that in a second. It also has an estimated value piece here, confidence score on that. So if you've got estimated value, but a confidence score of like 40, might not be correct, right? This one, they're 97% certain, 381. And that kind of falls in line a little bit with our CMA that we ran too. We said this is probably going to be close to the value that we got. This I never use because it doesn't calculate all the other stuff, but estimated rental amount. And then previous listing information. So if you click on this, it'll take you to the previous listing. And so you can go look at the pictures, see what's going on with it. And then other previous MLS. And then I can also see sales history. I can start to get an idea if they bought this for 281. They did a mortgage of 259,900. So when I talk to this person, if they're a seller, I say, well, how much do you owe on your property? And they go, oh, we have $320,000 on it. I'm questioning that now. They're like, oh, do you have a second mortgage? Did you refinance? Did you do a cash out refi? Do you have a HELOC? What's going on? Because I know when you bought it, your mortgage was 260. So what happened? And I want to get that information because that affects their net number. And then this is just your maps on here. It will show comparable properties. I'm not a huge fan of this. I think sometimes it pulls stupid comps. So go find your own. You can get your neighbors' properties and it will show you your direct neighbors. So you can start to see like, oh, did somebody build a crazy, nice new home right on an empty lot right in the middle of a terrible neighborhood? Because that's going to affect value. So look at this, figure that out. Neighborhood profile. Be careful talking about this with people for the fair housing, so forth, but it'll tell you your average age ranges for the area, female, male, housing. What's the median home sale price? Is it vacant, rented, or owner? You're about 50% owner, 50% everything else. Are they 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedrooms, or 4 bedrooms? You're pretty across the board there, but the most are 3 and 4 bedrooms. You can see, are they blue collar or white collar workers for the area? This is just pulling census information. And what areas do they work in? Tons of people work in the services industry here. They work in retail and manufacturing. So if you really wanted to get niche on your marketing, you could tailor your marketing based on this neighborhood profile and who the buyer is possibly going to be. And then household income, majority of people make 75 to 100K. Do you get some higher income people, but the majority shows 75 to 100K. All right, flood map, always important to look at. You should look at this on every single house. And that's just make sure that your client's not buying in a flood zone. Clearly, we're looking out of a flood zone here. This pink purple area would be a flood zone. This is clearly out of a flood zone. Doesn't mean that can't change in the future, but it would have to take a lot to change it for this house. So no flood insurance will probably be required on this property. You're good to go. We won't go through hazards and risks and all the rest, but that's pretty much realist for the search aspect. You have quick search here, or you have my search. So you can actually like create a search and then save it. So I have all these like golden letter searches or client searches for trying to find off-market properties and stuff, but you can adjust what is in this search. So I can come in here and I can go find that sell score indicator as an item. And then whenever I'm back in here, where is it? Sell score, and I can adjust. How do I do that?
So something on that.
Oh, yeah. So you'd have to go adjust what is being selected because I might have too many things being selected. And if it's multiple counties in whatever. So go in here, adjust the counties that it's pulling from and adjust the attributes. And then when you go down to that cell score, make sure it's checked. And then when you go here, you'll be able to put in your range that you want on your cell score. So you could put, and you could either do between, greater than. So if I did greater than, and then I would just put like 600. So that way it's searching for everything that's 600 or more. And then maybe I'm targeting some more aggressive sellers. And then you can mail those people, go door knock them, call them TCPA compliant for everybody.
Class we're talking about it. Do you mind telling me then what the sales score is like?
Yeah, so the question in here is what the cell score actually is and how do they get it? There are some really smart technology people that basically follow people around the internet. And so they, like, it's crazy what, like, the world and the cloud knows about you as an individual. So they partner with other companies where they can get information and they go, oh, you own this address. Let's look at your online activity. Oh, you're visiting Zillow a lot and you've been looking at houses. Oh, you went to this real estate agent website and asked, what is my home worth? Oh, you've been looking in this location, or, oh, you went on a job interview out of town. Will you be relocating? Like, it will literally follow you around the internet, and it, like, cookies in the internet literally follow you, like your internet history and what you're doing. So if suddenly I start looking up what's it like to live in Cleveland, Ohio, it's going to go, oh, is this person possibly moving to Cleveland? Maybe they're interested in selling their house. So then that sell score indicator is going to increase a little bit. And then if I go real estate in Cleveland, Ohio, they're going, definitely possibly moving to Cleveland, Ohio. And then it goes up. All of my houses show me as a really high sell score indicator because I'm looking at markets all across the United States for potential rental properties. So it thinks I'm moving to all of these different areas. So for me, it shows all these high sell score indicators. So that's all it's doing.
Would it ever pop up like increase your sales score if you're like to refinance to mortgage?
Possibly. Yeah, if you're going on mortgage websites and things like that, like it's not smart enough to go, are you staying put and refinancing, or are you possibly going to sell? It's just looking at general activity.
Yeah.
I mean, it's AI and an algorithm that's doing it. So it's it all just kind of depends. But that's where it's coming from. All right. Showing time real quick, because I do think this is important to show because it makes life easier. Where's my carts? Go back here to results. All right, so let's say these two properties. Actually, let's just go find some more. Okay, I'm going to select that one. Select that one. That one. Let's look at this one over here. And this one over here. Carts. Just create a new cart. So we have these 5 houses that we potentially want to see. If I select them all and under my actions tab, I hit showing time. I can hit add to showing cart. Let's create a new one. Next. And I'm going to pick my date. So if I've got clients coming in out of town and I know I'm showing all these properties to them and I'm going to show them tomorrow. It's pulling all those properties in and it shows me on a map here where all of them exist. This little smart route button is great. It'll redo all the properties based on best driving distance. And then I can adjust where all these properties sit too. So let's say I'd rather see this one before I see that one. I can click, hold, and drag and drop all these to arrange them. And then over here, it shows what time they are available and then the drive time in between each property. So now I can start going, okay, if we're going to start at 11 a.m. and we're going to do a 30-minute showing, hit save. That's my projected showing time. And it's only a 3-minute drive to the next one. Oh, okay, great. So I'm going to do 11:30 to 12 then. And then I'm only a 1-minute drive. And if we happen to see a property a little bit earlier, I'm going to start doing some overlapping times here. So that way, if we move through these first 2 properties faster, I've still got this one reserved early enough for me to be able to see it. Then we've got an 8-minute drive and an 11-minute drive. So then I would just start picking the times. And then once you have that all picked out, you just hit send request and it makes all 5 of those showing requests at one time for you. Way easier than going property by property by property by property, which I see so many people doing. Like if you're having an out-of-town client, you got to do 10 showings in one day. I've seen people stress so hard over figuring this out. And it's like, just use this showing cart feature. Like add all the houses you want into a cart, select them, hit the showing time, and now you use this tool in that smart route. It's almost like old school MapQuest. Some of you probably don't even remember MapQuest. You could ask Jeeves about that. By the way, that was Lizzie's joke. It's really good. She's watching. Yeah, that's showing carts. That's kind of the best tool. I think everyone else kind of knows showing time. Download the showing time app as well. It's great for communication with the agent, access to property, and so forth, and what that looks like. Cool. Questions on showing time before we bump? Chat. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, that,
Very welcome.
that is really awesome. I agree.
Yeah, showing carts. One of the greatest tools for making scheduling showings easy. All
Hey,
right.
Seth, I have another question.
Yeah.
So, in regards to like, I know you said something about when someone is renting a home, how do you go about I guess improvements or staging if there's an active renter in the home?
That's a little bit tougher and it all depends on the tenant. Are they cooperative or not? But we partner with a professional stager who will actually go in and do stuff. We also have a cleaning company and so forth. So I'm just meeting with the seller and saying, hey, what's our budget? How much are you willing to spend on these things? And then getting the tenant to agree to let a stager come in and do stuff to the property and let the cleaners come in and do stuff as well. But you got to have a agreeable tenant, because sometimes tenants hate when the landlord goes sell the property or the landlord doesn't want to alert the tenant even, and like that makes tough situations. But if it's an agreeable tenant, get a stager in there to actually do some cleanup, some decluttering, adjusting some furniture, things like that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, templates for transaction desk. Everyone says this is a good tool. So when you open up transaction desk, you have your transactions, you got forms, and then signings that are happening. When I go to create a new transaction, if you don't have a template set up, you have to go find and add all the individual forms every time you create a new transaction. So if I hit here, and I don't have any of this information, and I just hit create on my forms page, you'll see it's empty. And so I would have to go in here and find every single form. So I'd have to search for the purchase agreement. I'd have to add the purchase agreement, so forth. It's really annoying and it's awful. So what I like to do is create templates in here. So on this left side, this little one piece of paper, click on that, and then you have transaction templates. And now we can create one. So you see, I already have some templates in here. So if I have a residential listing, if I set up this transaction template, all of these forms auto load into it. This is my old one, clearly, because that form has been disabled. And then we've got residential purchase. And so that form, all of these auto load in here when I go to do it. So let's create a new one real quick. So when I'm here, I hit add. Night training. Type. I want residential sale because we're going to do it for purchasing. And now when I go to forms, this is empty, but I can start finding all the forms that I want to include in this transaction for a purchase. So I know I need buyer brokerage agreements with every single buyer that I have. So I can select that one. I don't do the release of exclusive right to represent buyer agreement because one, I don't let people fire me. I work really, really hard, provide great service, so they always want to work with me. And I think it's just bad juju if you were to automatically add that one in there. Like, you just don't want to even think about people firing. Exclusive right to represent. Oh, that's not non-agency. I want standard agency. So that's the one you want to use, standard agency, and hit add. And then let's do by brokerage, purchase agreements and related forms. So you can add an addendum in here, but let's just go find the purchase agreement. So add that, escalation addendum, and you can just start selecting different forms that you use all the time. So maybe an as-is addendum you use, the 2-page addendum, and let's add all those. So now I have all of these pieces in here. And to represent a buyer, you also need those other disclosures, right? So if I come in here, I can look at Keller Williams Richmond West, and we have our affiliated business disclosure and our shared space agreement. And I can add both of those. And then I can even position where these are. So when they show up on the purchase, they're the first 3 things. And then I can also add a mandatory lock on these. So I can make sure that I remember these documents are mandatory documents for every single transaction that I do. So I know if I'm going to represent a buyer, I need those 3 documents at a minimum. I usually include the summary of rights. I'll do the lead-based paint brochure early on as well. So you run your business how you want, but you can add all those forms in here. Hit update. So it saves. All right, so now when I go home and I want to create a new transaction, let's call it Ignite Training. And now I have a template that I built called Ignite Training. And I add myself as the selling agent because it's a residential sale, like a purchase, and then use Wizard. And so now when I create this transaction and I go to that forms page, all of those documents automatically show up. I don't have to go hunt down each one of them individually and add it to this transaction. That will save you per transaction, you know, it's not hours, but it's minutes. And then if you sell 20 homes a year, now we're talking about hours. And then just over the course of time, how much time does this end up saving you overall? And you don't accidentally forget a document, you don't get distracted. Like, it is way easier to just create this template, load it in here, and then you've got everything you need. And then now when you're in your transaction page here, you can easily just go find all your forms.
Can you create, or is there the ability to have the cover sheet where it defaults and it loads your name and the brokerage and all of the information that never changes?
You're saying in this form?
In there, as a cover sheet, where everything you do will automatically load that key information every time.
Yeah, I mean, it brings this up, doesn't bring in the broker name. You could go create your own and then upload that into it with that pre-filled out information. So you could do that if you want. That's not something I've done because it's so easy to just go through here and fill this out. But like in the purchase agreement, because it knows I'm the selling agent on the transaction, it will automatically fill out like all of my contact information down here at the bottom and stuff. And then Keller Williams Realty, it fills out what it knows that it can based on you being the selling agent stuff, and that automatically happens. So cool, that's adding templates. Questions on any of that? Yeah, no problem at all. Anyone online have questions? Any ahas or questions from the entire day then? Because I think we've pretty much gone over all the main things I wanted to. We've got about 15 minutes left. So if anyone's got a question, let's knock out some questions or thoughts or ahas for anyone.
Do you ever use RPR for anything like this?
Yeah, it kind of does the same thing as like your CMA. What I found is the more information I give my clients, the more confusing it becomes to them. And I think RPR, like, it looks great, does a great job. I think what I found when I was messing with it before was it was less customizable as far as the amount of information I wanted to give. And in using our CMAs, I can adjust the pages more. And so I didn't want to send my clients so much information that it bogs them down. And like, because remember, they don't look at this every single day. So if I can only give them the great pertinent information that matters to them, then that's all I want to send. At least that was my experience with RPR. Otherwise, I think it is a great tool and it has a lot of great information and it's included. So if you want to use it, use it.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yep. Any other takeaways or questions?
I think what would help me is if you could go back to the key forms that you constantly use for buyers and sellers, so that I could take a picture.
So one of the things you could actually do is in transaction desk, we have this forms. No, those forms. So if you go here and then hit Keller Williams Richmond West, you have contract checklist right here. So if you look at this, this tells you everything you need to do.
Okay.
It needs updated because this still says McLean Mortgage. So let me alert somebody at KW to update this. But this is your list that you should be turning in. Like this is your compliance list to get uploaded into Command.
That's in transaction.
Yeah, go to forms and then the Keller Williams Richmond West folder, and then contract checklist. It needs updated, so I'll let the office know. But this is going to give you a good idea because you need a contract or a lease. You need all the signed addenda to that. You need your exclusive right to represent agreement or listing agent. You need lead-based paint if it's a part of it, so forth. And then all the other disclosures for the office. Affiliated business. This would be for Atlantic Coast now. Yeah, this needs updated because we don't do copy of checks. If anyone ever asks you for a copy of a check, don't send it. Too much fraud going on to send check numbers and stuff. Just get the title company to give a receipt of EMD. That way you don't get sued.
So Seth, you mentioned getting the well, you kind of learned how to set the prices on items and adjustments just through experience. But is there a place on the internet that you can access just to get an idea of, like a bathroom, what the price adjustment would be for certain fixtures or certain things?
So
resource out there?
for those online, the question is there a resource online to be able to go get values for making adjustments for like bathrooms and things like that and stuff?
Porches.
Because so much of that is market dependent. A bathroom in Los Angeles is going to be way more than a bathroom in Richmond, Virginia. A bathroom in Richmond, Virginia is way more than a bathroom in Dinwiddie. So in my opinion, no.
Okay.
And you're honestly just going to need to put in the work to go research properties and look at comps and look at solds and go find that information and determine it, and call appraisers to get a little bit of help on it. Because if you go online, like right now, if you literally went online and said, how much does it cost to install a 6-foot privacy fence? They're going to give you a range of like $6 to $17 a linear foot. Well, that's a massive range when you start adding in, oh, a fencing a property is like 200 linear feet. Well, 6 times 200 is a way smaller number than 17 times 200. So that's why I don't think online is really a great tool. Like you just got to go look at the comps and look at sold properties and kind of figure that out. It's like on these bedrooms were the same. This had an extra full bathroom and it sold for $5,000 more than this one on average. This did the same thing. This did the same thing. Okay, so $5,000 for a full bathroom. And you just got to start finding.
And the same thing with investors say they're buying a property, you're comping them based on what they can sell it for once it's renovated, kind of follow the same rules.
For like after repair value. Yeah, so for those online, the question was, do you do the same thing? Am I looking at values for an investor like before or after renovations? If they're an investor looking to flip a property, I am 100% looking at after repair value all the time, because that's what I'm basing everything else off of.
Would you consider square footage being a very important piece of that, or?
Yeah, yeah, square footage would be super important on that, because that's going to change. Like a house that has 300 extra square feet means a lot depending on the layout of the house. If it's got the same room numbers, but it's 300 square feet less, what is that telling me? Probably small bedrooms, small tight bathrooms. That's going to affect my pricing a lot. If it's 300 square feet bigger and it has one extra room, like it has an extra living room, that's affecting my pricing in a different way. So yeah, that's super important. Cool. Yeah. Any other takeaways, ahas? We got 8 more minutes.
I think the showing time was great for showings. I spent a lot of time.
Yeah. When I see agents for showing time sitting there and like they've got Google open and they're like searching directions and then they're going back to showing time and they're making a request and then that one gets declined and they're like, oh, that throws off our entire day timeline and then you got to reschedule all the things, whatever. It's like, man, just use that showing time card, makes life so much easier. So literally on something like that, if you're trying to schedule like 5, 6 showings at a time, it will save you hours. Yeah. Frustrations, stress, yeah.
So you put them in the hot person.
Yeah, I'll put them all in the cart and line everything up and then just hit make requests. I'm done. And then if something gets declined or whatever, then I can go back and adjust, but it just makes it way easier. And it shouldn't be declined if it's showing availability on there, right? Like that frustrates me more than anything with listing agents. Is like when listing agents don't communicate with their sellers unavailable showing times and I go make a request and it gets declined. You should never have a seller declining showings unless it's like an emergency. Like talk with your sellers, get their showing schedules, and if you need to block out times in showing time, block it out. So that way every request is approved, because there's nothing that will piss off a buyer agent more than a buyer agent being busy, trying to book a bunch of showings, and then you decline their showing requests in a time that shows available on showing time. I get a little heated on that.
Yeah.
Super frustrating. All right. Anything else? We got something in the chat. King Seth, thorough corner. You're very welcome, James. Where did I have this? So one thing I will ask before we go, if The QR code on here is my virtual business card. If you want to save all my contact information and everything, you can scan that QR code and save that info. I would love it if everyone who took the course today would also evaluate me. So if you go to that website at the top, which is kwueval.com, and then follow these instructions here. You will not find my name in the instructor list. So you will have to scroll down to the bottom and select instructor not in dropdown, and then type in my name, and then please fill out that survey. That would be fantastic. And I'll leave this up here for a few minutes. We got some.
What session was this?
Use name of course is Ignite class.
There's not a specific number.
No, so my class actually isn't a normal Ignite class. I didn't create it. The office asked me to create this teacher.
Excuse me, Seth, where did you say to go for that survey again?
So go to KWU eval.
Gotcha. Okay, good.
It
Thanks.
should be showing on the screen.
So the course not in job.
Okay, got it.
And then type it in.
Yeah. Sorry. If under name of course, if Ignite class isn't there, then put go to course not in drop down. Is that what it's called? Yeah, course not in drop down. Yeah, and just put Ignite class. Yeah, thanks everyone for being here. I think we're done. If you got any questions or anything, should have my contact info. Hit me up. Yeah, thanks everyone for being here. Appreciate it. It won't automatically save. So if you scan that QR code, it should bring you up to a blink page. And then there's a button to say save to contacts. And then when you do that, it should pull up your contacts and scroll down and hit create new contact.
Mine didn't do that. She's asking that. Then you might.
Oh, do you have blink as well? Yeah, that's annoying. If you have blink, it'll so it'll auto save it in blink.
But not in my phone.